Yeah, we've never had comments on our stream, so I guess we did not know to look for that. So I guess we should probably start here. What up, dude?
How's it going?
Wonderful.
Got some pretty cool bikes here.
Yeah, we're streaming for the second time today because earlier today was a little bit different anyhow. It was kind of a more interview, informative type of deal, which was awesome. I was really stoked to have Wheels Up Enduro come by to kind of find out a little bit about their new program, which we'll talk about more in detail later. But first off, I want to jump into the Remedy because I noticed I did a search for 2022 Remedy on YouTube and nobody had anything. So it's, of course, our favorite bike, which is ironic. It seems there's reviews on every other bike out there. I've been waiting for this one for forever. We ordered it at the beginning of COVID back in May. So we had it on order for about 18 months. We finally got some Remedy 8s in. We're at the beginning of 2022 right now. It's going to be a hard bike to come by. So we cannot ship these bikes. If you are interested in a Remedy and you can't find one locally, you can always drive to St. Louis. We've got some great camping and hotels. Come pick up the bike from us. You can purchase it online prior to make sure that we have it for you before you make the trip here. But really awesome, really cool. But the Remedy 8's me and Mustache's favorite bike. We love 27.5, which is what this bike is. You can put plus tires on it. It's going to come stock with 2.5-inch tires on, I believe, right?
The 2.6.
Oh, they are 2.6s?
2.6.
Are they, what tires are they?
So the new 22s are going to come with Xr5s front and rear. So Bontrager just completely redesigned their Xr5 Trail Tire. So it's going to be all new. It's going to have a lot different. If you look at the tread in comparison to your old one, it's going to have a lot more sipes in it, and it's going to have a different pattern. I believe they also changed the rubber up as well. The sidewalls are totally different looking as well. So it's an all new tire. On the older models, they had the old Xr5 in the front and then an Xr4 in the rear, a little bit faster rolling. But for this year, they just went with full-blown Xr5 front and rear. Just decided to make it as chunky as possible.
Would you mind sliding the camera in closer on the tread of the tire for me? So yeah, I'm really stoked by this. I think that was, while Bontrager tires, so here in Missouri, we have a lot of really sharp rock. So sidewalls get torn up like crazy. Anytime you get anybody riding from out of town, they'll come in for like a rear tire that they slashed, and then I'll try to upsell them a second tire or something Max SEXO that's a little bit stronger. If anybody's running any other brand, they tend to hold up really well. The Bontrager tires also hold up well, so that's nice. I am getting all kinds of light in my eyes. Hold on. Mustache, how do I work computer?
I don't know, man. You just click buttons and
shift
something. I don't know.
Oh no. Okay. I'm not, you know what? We're gonna deal with a little bit of glare in my glasses. I'll turn the computer screen down. But no, so I'm really excited. I think that was, I rode it. I had a 2020 Remedy 9.7. Absolutely loved that bike. The only down or kind of shortcoming I felt on that bike is it was so fast that I was outriding the tires. So Bontrager's old compounds, while they're strong and a really good kind of well thought out tread pattern to them, you would tend to overshoot turns and overcook turns and stuff like that because tires just would not grab up like something like a Maxxis tire would. So super excited to try out these tires this year. We literally just got these in last week. We haven't had a chance to ride them yet. I had actually had one on reserve for myself, a Remedy 2022 Remedy 8 XT build. But instead Mustache is getting a new bike and I'll continue to be on the wait. So we do have, common sizes available on that bike, but Mustache is actually going to be riding a 2021. And your buddy grabbed the 2022 in large. So pretty cool stuff there. Tires, a possible change there. So just kind of working our way away from that. It's a Lyric Select up front. So 160 mil of travel on the Lyric. With the Select, it's the kind of more base model of the Lyric. So you can expect you know, not to have quite as much adjustment to it.
It's still going to have the Charger 2 damper. It's just not going to have the high low speed compression like an RC3 damper would on the Ultimate.
Yeah, so important to know there. But you know, I think for a lot of us, I mean, maybe once people start getting into these bigger travel bikes, I mean, suspension setup is super important.
I already took this fork apart, put some extra tokens in it, just really want to fine tune it for what I want.
Yeah.
Like before riding the bike, I knew that I needed to set up the suspension a little stiffer because I'm a little more aggressive rider and I weigh more than the average rider as well. So both of those factors combined, really, I just had to change out those tokens, and it's super easy. It took less than 5 minutes. Just take a cassette tool up top, unscrew that top cap once you let all the air out, screwed 2 new tokens in, put it back, all good to go.
Let the air out. Double, triple, quadruple check that you let all the air out. You do not.
You won't be able to get the cap off if you don't.
It's going to be really hard, and if you do get it, it's not going to be fun when it starts coming. So yeah, that's super easy, and I think that you know, and your bike came with those tokens. So if you did not get them, like we don't often give them to people. But if they didn't, you can always go back to your bike shop and they'll give you a few of those tokens for your bike. They'll have them there. They probably have a huge drawer full that they would love to give you some of. So that's really awesome. Excuse me. But yeah, I think just in general with forks and bigger travel bikes, I mean, you know, for an average rider, for an everyday rider, kind of setting up stiffer is better anyway. And how do you feel, since you're a bit more kind of a jumpy rider, you still, I guess, kind of similar to your DJ bike, want a really stiff suspension because it's going to kind of allow you to hit a little bit harder and not bottom off the fork completely?
This is my first suspension trail bike. On my first hardtail trail bike, with the stock suspension setup, I was having some kind of weird issues, like whenever I'd huck off a drop or a jump or anything, and my fork was not almost all the way stiff, it would just bottom out super harshly. Threw a couple extra tokens in that, played with the compression, the air pressure, was able to get that worked out pretty well. So going from a dirt jump fork that's super stiff and really doesn't move that much under small bumps to something that's incredibly plush like this, it's a big change up. So I'm trying to get it set up a little closer to what I'm used to, because the last thing you want, the worst thing to destroy your confidence when you're about to hit a jump or a drop is, am I going to super harshly bottom out my suspension, and is it going to cause me to crash? Because if your suspension's way too soft and you hit something way too big, it's not going to be fun for you, your bike, and your suspension internals. It's just, you really just want to make sure that your suspension is set up for you, your weight, and your style of riding.
Yeah, super important. And if you're not real well versed on suspensions and you don't know where to start at, jump on Trek's website, go to the Remedy 8. They have a suspension calculator on their website.
Yep. It shows you shock pressure, fork pressure, and it tells you how many clicks to run on your compression and rebound as well. If you're not familiar with changing the clickers on your suspension, it's super nice. It tells you exactly how to do it, and it'll tell you how it actually affects your bike. And you can really fine tune your suspension. Once you learn what the clickers do, you can learn how they affect your riding, and you can listen for that feedback when you're riding. Yeah,
big advantage if you're looking for any Trek full suspension bike. Not every manufacturer is going to have it kind of where you can put in all your details. Maybe there's a graph in the owner's manual. Maybe you got to call them and, you know, have a phone conversation.
RockShox has the app. It tells you what air pressure and tells you how many clicks to run it at, but it doesn't tell you like the air pressure. When you go to the Trek suspension calculator on trekbikes.com, it tells you what tire pressure to run, different pressure front and rear, and your suspension setup. So if you just have any questions about how to set up your bike, Trek will take care of you if you can't go into your local bike shop.
Dude, I think that is my favorite thing about the Remedy 8 XT is the bike I want. It's the bike you want. It's the bike that we think is the overall best value, strongest, toughest bike. You know, maybe, you know, the fork's fine. Maybe, you know, there, you could obviously do a little bit better there. But this bike is solid out of the box. It's got with the XT derailleur, XT shifters, or is it SLX shifters?
XT shifter and SLX brakes.
Okay, SLX brakes, yeah. So full Shimano build all the way through. Is going to be problem free. It's going to work super well. You got a nice solid suspension in the Lyric. You got the Super Deluxe on the rear end with the piggyback canister, help keep things cool for you. 4-piston brakes on those SLXs. So just a super solid bike that it's just tough and ready to go. And I think one of the important things about this bike as well, before we get into more componentry, is the geometry of this bike's really awesome. So what we're looking at is a 160 mil travel bike. You can fit up to 2.8-inch tires on it, which mean I ran a mullet for a while, and I really loved having a 2.8 on the rear, and then like a 29er up front. But you could run up to 2.8-inch tires if you wanted to, because those chainstays on the back of the Remedy are basically the same size as the Slash. So Trek's 29er big travel full suspension bike. So basically what that means, you're kind of gaining some of those advantages as far as your ability to pedal this bike. And then what happens with, especially these 27, because it seems like when manufacturers make a 27.5-inch full suspension bike, they make it overly rowdy, right? So, if you're starting to get into that ballpark, you're going to be on a bike with like a 63.5-degree head tube angle, 64.5 degrees, something like that. So what Trek's done on this bike is they've kept it a little bit steeper. So we're looking at a 65.5-degree angle, head tube angle. If it's in the low position with that middle link, if you flip it to the high position, so you pull the bottom bracket up, you're at a 66-degree head tube angle. So for a 160 mil travel bike to only have a 66-degree head tube angle is awesome. It's going to mean you're going to be able to pedal this bike around. I remember that being one of the biggest things for me the first time I rode my Remedy 9.7. As I got on it and it felt super tall. I was like, oh, why do I feel like on top of this bike and really in a powerful position? I was able to pedal it great, did great uphills, just kind of charged everywhere. And I felt like the bike always wanted to charge forward. Reason being, I'm not slacked out and sitting all the way back on that bike. So of course it is charging forward. So really dope. But then when you turn it downhill, it's got the APB. So your rear wheel's tracking like crazy. You're keeping contact with the ground with both wheels. And then that 160 mil of suspension, especially if you set it up stiff, it's just going to soak up everything you put to it. So really cool. And it kind of makes you think about a little bit. It's like, okay, when I love slack bikes, don't get me wrong. I don't want to ride around on a 67.5-degree head tube cross country. We call it cross country now. 3 years ago, it wouldn't have been. But this bike is built really cool because you do have that big travel and you're still at, it's still slack at 66 degrees.
It really does walk that fine line between trail bike and full-blown enduro bike. This is a bike that I plan on taking down to Shepherd. I plan on running the rowdiest stuff that I can find on it. Shepherd, Windrock, out west, already planning a trip out to North Carolina. There's just going to be a lot of cool stuff. So I'll be able to just power down hills, just let it rip wide open. But also, if I do ride on some of the more cross-country trails around here that are a bit more pedally, I'm not really going to feel like it's just a big pig, like a tractor, like the bike that I have now.
What did I tell you I was going to do while you were talking about the bike? I was supposed to be looking up something.
You're going to look at the comments from earlier today's stream.
Oh, yeah, I was going to see if that was possible.
We got a bunch of comments from our stream earlier, so we're not used to having that many comments. We're not used to that many fans. So we're going to take a look and see what you said.
That many. We're not used to anybody being on the live stream, but who it was a lot of the younger riders from the area who are going to be really interested in this team. Once they seen that we were talking to them about it, the Wheels Up guys, they were super stoked to try to get some information and find out what's in store for them. Because the reason why there's a Wheels Up Enduro team is because they asked for it and they demanded it. And then the coaches and everybody responded to what they wanted. So
something that comes up pretty frequently here with younger riders is that most younger riders who are into racing are involved in NICA. Although it may not be their favorite style of riding, they still do it just because if they want to race, that's kind of what you do. That's how you learn. So Wheels Up is really cool because it's going to kind of be the next step from there. So it's not just going to be pedaling cross country. It's going to be enduro. It's going to be chunky terrain, drops, jumps, features. And it's going to be kind of the next step up. It's going to be more fun stuff, more learning how to do fun stuff and how to do it safely. So it's a pretty cool pretty cool gig they got going on.
If someone could comment on this stream, if anyone was tuning in, that would be dope, because then they could tell me how to find comments from the live stream, because they don't show up on the published video.
Okay.
But anyhow, let's jump back in the Remedy, because again, people are going to be here to hear us talk about that. So straight down tube as far as the frame goes. It's got that straight shot down tube, so that also increases the stiffness. Again, what makes that bike feel like it's a 29er as far as when it climbs. So really dope, but it's still this like nimble bike because it's only got 27.5 wheels on it. Absolutely love Remedies. I think they're the coolest bike out there. APB again keeps a rear wheel on the ground. And then is that a press fit bottom bracket?
It does. Yep. It has.
So still a press fit bottom bracket on the Remedies. So that's important to know. The 2022 Slashes have gone to a threaded bottom bracket. I believe the Fuel's on a threaded bottom bracket now. The Roscoe 6 is on a threaded bottom bracket.
Threaded's definitely the way to go. It's so much easier to service. You don't have to worry about busting your frame every time you do it. It's just so much easier on you if you're doing it yourself, or the mechanic if you take it someplace. It's just going to be a lot quicker turnaround time.
Yeah, and then, it's not a big deal. We can always take care of it at the shop for you. We have the right tools to handle that. It's a quick and easy job for us. It's if you're trying to use like random stuff from your garage to knock the bearings out and press them back in is where the damage occurs. So yeah, bring it into your shop. If you got a truck bike, you bought it from a shop that's going to have a nice service department. Let them take care of that stuff for you. And remember, bottom brackets really ideally would be replaced, about once a year or so. So that is something you should plan on, having done, and you'll need special tools to do a threaded bottom bracket too. It just, you don't have the same risk of damaging the frame as long as you don't cross thread anything.
Yeah, like on bike trips, I'll carry a toolbox with a bunch of random bike tools, like a cassette tool, chain whip, and a bottom bracket bottom bracket tool. A wrench is always something that I keep in there. If my bottom bracket loosens up, have to swap cranks, something like that, I'll always be able to take care of that. Just put the bike on the rack and take care of it super quickly. If it's a press fit,
right,
I would not be wanting to sit outside of a bike park, hammer in a press fit tool into my frame. That would not be very. No,
you'll need to find a shop.
Yeah.
Yep. And that stands to reason. You just came back from a bike trip out at Ray's.
Yep.
Go through your bike before you go ride somewhere. Yep. Make sure everything's sound. Go for a ride at your local park. A nice, easy ride. Don't go blast for 20 miles. Take a nice, easy ride. Make sure the bike's sounding good. Make sure everything's right. Maybe do that a week before your trip so you can get into the shop.
Yeah, my bike spent 1,100 miles on the bike rack this past week, going out to Cleveland and back. That's 8.5 hours each way. And there's definitely a couple spots on my bike that I just know those bolts are going to loosen up just with those vibrations over time.
Yep.
And I just double check those crank bolts, double check the chain tensioner, just make sure everything's snug. Last year we actually the group I went, we did have some issue. Someone's pedal loosened up on them on the ride there, and their crank stripped out about half an hour in. Had to buy a brand new set of profile cranks from Ray's. That was a little expensive, but just always those little things that'll get you.
Yeah, let's wrap up the Remedy 820 mil wide bars, which is awesome. So this bike comes rowdy as you want it. You'll probably have to cut those down if you're under 6 foot, maybe down to 810 or 800. Who am I to tell you what to do? 820 sounds great as well. You got double lock on. Are those double lock-ons? Double lock-on grip, super important. You are going to have the knock block system. That is not, you cannot take that out like you can a Slash, because you do have that straight down tube. So if you were to remove the knock block, then you could potentially damage your frame. There are adapters for the stems. You can put a different stem on. This bike comes with a 35 mil stem, and it's got like almost a 28 mil rise on the bars with pretty minimal sweep. It's nothing too crazy. So yeah, those SLX 4-piston brakes, super stoked about those guys. And then the XT drivetrain, probably the most important bit of this bike, and why I ordered this bike for myself, and then instead you got a bike. Which is fine because I really like my mountain board.
Let's outline for the viewers, like, what makes XT so much better than the comparable drivetrain from other companies.
Oh, because Shimano makes it.
Yeah. It has some cool features, though, that other brands don't have. I mean, you can shift under load.
You absolutely can with the new XT. You need an XT derailleur, an XT shifter, and XT cassette, and I would say an XT chain. I would not
full XT.
Don't mess around. Yeah, and of course, right now it's insanely hard to get all these parts. So if you are looking to do a build, or maybe you're looking to upgrade your 2021 Remedy from SRAM or something like that, just know you're going to need all those. If you try getting goofy with it and mix and matching things on these new 12 speeds, it's never going to work right, and it's not going to perform the way it was intended. If you match it all up perfectly, then you can dump your gears wherever you want, and the bike's going to keep running. So
there's on these 12-speed drivetrains, the tolerances are so tight. There's so much to go wrong. It could be one of a dozen things if it's not working right. So just want to make sure everything's.
Yeah, and you have to make sure, as far as like with your XT and XTRs, they're going to come in different cage lengths. So if you get the medium cage, that's only going to work for a 45 tooth cassette. So if you've got a medium cage XTR 12-speed derailleur, it's not going to work on a 51 tooth cassette. So
does Wolf Tooth or any brands make a 12-speed goat link?
No, no. So that was an idea that I don't think anyone's made a goat link in like 4 or 5 years
since the 11-speed Wolf Tooth.
Yeah, that was the last, or what was the radder cage? I had a radder cage on my bike at one time. Nice. Yeah. So yeah, no, I don't see any of those working. And again, could something like that work? Yeah. Did the goat links work? Yeah. Did they work great? No, it got you by, and then you knew the tolerances and the limits of your drivetrain. The idea behind having 12-speed XT is that you don't really have to care that much, and that you have that ability to dump them. So if you don't go all XT or above, then you're going to lose those abilities. So it's not worth spending the money. And the XT stuff's super affordable. I think we've got like one 12-speed Dior left. Elsewise, we've been waiting on XT 12 speeds for a bit. I think that the Dior's like $55, and then the XT, I don't know how much it is. I hate to even say, maybe $120 at worst case scenario. It might even be 90 or something. I think probably SLX is 90, and then the XT is probably somewhere around 120. Sorry, you guys can look it up, but I think it's really worthwhile. So that's it. As far as the hubs go, what do we got? 54 tooth engagement, 108.
Yep. So we got 54 in here stock. But of course it is a Bontrager rapid drive hub. So you can take out the free hub without using tools. That's pretty cool. Don't even have to take the cassette off. Just pop that right off. Gets 3 springs and 3 pawls. Pop them in there. And then you just doubled the points of engagement on your hub. So for about $30 and maybe half an hour of your time, you can double the engagement on your hubs, make it sound super sweet, just super nice for ratcheting on tight techie sections.
Dude, I think we friggin' nailed it. That's it for the Remedy. Look at us go, dude. We are less than 1/2 of an hour in. We're at 24 minutes. We've already talked about the Remedy. People are going to be super stoked because there's no videos on the Remedy out there right now. People are going to come. They're going to hear
it's a sweet bike.
Good, honest truth about what we think about this bike. We just happen to love this bike. So I don't know. Yeah, I think we talked about plenty of great things people would love to know about it and why we think it's the sickest bike out there.
Pretty cool bike. I've been waiting for one for over a year, so pretty stoked to have one.
So you got that. So you got a Remedy 8 now. You have not. I mean, you've ridden it, but you haven't
taken it on any trips. Haven't gotten down on it yet, but I've ridden it a couple times.
And that was supposed to be my bike. The shop owner who hasn't owned a bike in over a year, because I've been waiting on the bike I want, and the bike I want I keep selling. As soon as it arrives, somebody else a customer says I want that, and then
who doesn't want a medium large Remedy 8? They're great. It's the best bike.
Yeah. So in order for me to agree, and again, you didn't employee purchase this bike, you bought it straight up, and so that's something that comes out of our inventory that I can't then sell a customer. So it's a little disheartening. It was a very hard decision, but you do a really awesome job here. So I definitely wanted to make sure you knew that. I appreciate that, because I would do the same for myself. So I should do the same for you. But then also I made you agree to anytime that I want to ride that you have to let me ride your bike. So that's dope.
The bike's always on the table. Like, I ever come in with the bike on the back and you say, fuck it, I want to go for a ride.
Dude, I did not want to sell you that bike until like I thought like, oh, hold on, I can just tell them I get to ride it when I want.
Yeah.
And then I was suddenly cool with selling you the bike.
Someone else pays for the bike and you get to ride it. That sounds like a win-win.
Yeah, because I realized like I'm really into electric mountain boarding right now. That's a new hobby for me, and I'm really digging it. It's a ton of fun, so I'm going to probably continue to push pretty hard with that. So yeah, it'll be a little bit more rare when I actually I'm able to mountain bike. So I think that's a really cool deal for me. So you went up to Ray's?
Yep, I took a 4-day trip up to Ray's Bike Park in Cleveland. If you're not familiar with it, it is a 160,000 square foot warehouse that's been converted into indoor mountain bike trails. It is mountain bike specific. There's no scooters, no skateboards, no rollerblades, no nothing, just bikes. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool is actually an understatement. It's definitely worth the 8.5-hour drive. If you want to ride your bike in the winter and it's cold, trails are sloppy, just go to Ray's. They have some really, really fun features for people of all ages. They're going to have some skinnies. They're going to have some indoor rock gardens. They're just going to have some technical sections like elevators, teeter-totters into berms. There's just some crazy creative features that are only found at Ray's. So the bikes that they have at Ray's, they have 2 different types of bikes available for rental. They have a single speed Trek Stash. It's a mountain bike, perfect for skinnies, perfect for light cruising. They also have Trek Ticket dirt jumpers if you're looking to get a little more sendy. When you walk in the door, the people working behind the counter, they'll kind of eye you up and determine what bike fits you best based on your type of riding style. It's pretty easy to determine who comes to Ray's for the big booters and who comes for the skinnies. Pretty obvious. So, I was a lot better at one than the other.
If you have a flat bill hat on, long hair, some sort of tight jeans, maybe they cut off somewhere between the knee and the ankle, they would put you on a ticket if you showed up in that.
Yeah, all the old guys who showed up with their cross-country shoes wanting to clip in, they all went on the Stashes.
Do you have any? Hold on. Do people ride clipless at Ray's?
Yep. There are guys on cross-country bikes clipped in at Ray's. There was a guy on a hybrid with bags on it. He was just riding the flow trail. Like a handful of people looked at him and said, bro, you should not be riding that bike here. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to hurt your bike. A rental bike's $18. $18 for a rental bike is unheard of.
For a stash.
Yeah, downhill bikes at bike parks are $120 for a day.
And the Stash is my favorite bike in the world. So there was 2 bikes I wanted to pick up truck for when we signed them a couple years ago. And it was the Stash and then the Roscoe 24. Stash is so awesome. It's like a fat bike meets a 29er. It's like a fat bike meets a 29er.
Yeah, it's a super sweet bike. It's super playful. I really see why it would be a great bike for
super short wheelbase.
Especially with the sliding dropouts. They can get it set up single speed.
Big cushiony tires. Do they run 2.8s on them? What tires are they running on them?
I sent you a photo of it. I'm not sure.
Of the Stash?
Yeah, let me see.
The only thing I remember from your trip is you. I remember seeing a ton of bikes that, they had a billion Stashes there, dude. I tell them you want to buy one next time you're there when they're ready to get rid of them.
They do sell them. They do sell them.
But yeah, I know that I just seen you look like you were trying to do like a Superman of some kind.
Yeah, I was trying to do a Superman frame grab into the foam pit.
Okay, there was a foam pit. Good. That's what I was hoping.
Yeah, it was a foam pit. My mom did not know that either, and she was kind of freaking out. I was like, what are you doing? I'm like, it's a foam pit. I didn't feel a thing.
Did she call you or text you?
Yeah, she texted me.
Because you put it on Instagram. My mom did the same thing to me like last week. She texted me immediately because in one of the videos, like I fell on my board and like, you fall all the time. It's super slow motion. But like, I guess with the way the camera whipped around.
Think twice about it, but looking at it from an outside perspective, you're like.
Yeah, my mom freaked out. She called me too. She's like, are you okay? I'm like, what are you talking about?
But yeah, the foam pit at Ray's is definitely highlighted there. They have a resi room and a foam pit. The foam pit is huge. They have a 6-foot lip going into it, so you can really get some airtime. Try about anything you want. I wear full pads. knee pads, elbow pads, and a chest protector. I really like that chest protector for when I land, because a lot of times you land on top of the bike, not on top of the foam. So having that chest protector, having that upper body protection is super important for the foam pit.
Yeah.
The first time you hit a foam pit, it's going to be different than what you expected. The landing is not going to be quite as cushy.
So I've never jumped into a foam pit. Once you get in there, though, like let's say you kind of come on your back a little bit.
Yep.
You're in the foam. Do you freak out a little bit?
The first time, it's very easy. If you're claustrophobic, it's very easy to freak out.
Yeah, you're like, what's up? What's down?
Because you kind of, if you get loose from the bike and don't land on the bike, and especially if your legs are extended, you're going to sink to the bottom of the foam pit. The bottom of the foam pit is a trampoline. So you'll feel your feet hit that trampoline. And at the base, all that foam is just really packed in tight. You're not going to be able to move your feet around. So what they do is they always have some other rider standing by the side of the foam pit. They have a big rope with knots in it. They just toss you the rope. You throw your bike across the foam pit. They get it out for you. You just crawl out on the rope. Super fun, super simple once you get the hang of it.
Sounds awesome, dude.
But the first couple times you hit it, it is not what you see on nitro circuits. It's not just you hop in, hop out super quick. There's a little bit more to it than that. Like doing.
Now, are they using bigger, like blocks of foam?
The blocks are, I think they're like 6x6 inch, so about this big. Nothing too crazy. I actually had a corner go through my helmet and hit me on the eye a little bit.
Ooh, yeah.
Got a little corneal abrasion.
Do you guys wear goggles at all when they do that?
Not at Rays, no. In hindsight, I should have, but it's just so humid and hot inside of that factory in the winter.
Yeah.
You just really want to be in shorts.
That's dope. And then is Rays in like a kind of cityscape area? Is it kind of out in the country or a county?
So it's in downtown Cleveland. It's right in the old industrial section of Cleveland. So where it is held used to be a factory. I'm not exactly sure what the factory used to make, but it's a very large, very abandoned factory. So
very abandoned.
It's falling apart.
Very abandoned.
Really, you drive halfway across the country, following your GPS, pull up to this place, and you're like, this is what I drove across the country for, some old abandoned warehouse. But you just drive around the back, you see all the cars, hundreds of cars, and you just see bikes and bikes and bikes and bikes.
What time did they open in the morning?
So this past week for New Year's, they've been running special hours. So they've been going from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Usually that's only reserved for weekends. Usually they just do noon to 5 or noon to 10 on weekdays. But I was super stoked to get out there when they had the full days of riding. And if you're thinking about it, there is absolutely no way that you can make it through a full 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. day at Rays without having to go take a break, take a nap. It's so easy to get tired there. Like after the first day, you just really have to force yourself to take breaks. There's so much fun stuff to do there. There's so many different varieties of riding to do. There's super tight, small pump tracks. There's big, fast, flowy lines. There's fast, steep jumps. There's fast, long jumps. There's so many different styles of jumps, berms, obstacles, features.
Yeah, dude.
Just stuff that you've never even seen or even thought of before. They're going to have that for you, Rays. And it's going to be a super safe, controlled, and encouraging environment to try that out in. Super fun.
If I was better at my job while you were regaling us, oh no, my battery is running low.
Oh man.
Solved it. The whole time we've not been plugged in, which means it'd be on reduced power and not running well. Sorry, guys.
We're doing the stream though. We're doing it. We're trying.
We're doing
that's what counts.
So yeah, dude, I think
this is my second time going to Rays as well. I went last year, had such a good time. The opportunity came up for me to go this week. I just couldn't say no to the opportunity. It was going to be nice weather up there. I was just jonesing for a ride. Looking at some comments.
I'm trying.
Yeah, I noticed that last comment was from about 7 months ago, complaining about the bike park. That's pretty funny.
Yep, it needs some work, dude. Yep.
Yep, it does need some work, and that's all we have to say about it at the moment. We don't want to get in any trouble saying anything more. But there's a lot of cool stuff going on in the St. Louis area.
Yeah, it's so weird because it says there's no comments, and I know that
It must have been on Facebook.
No.
No? Held for review?
No. I wonder if they just like delete out over time.
Yeah, so if you're trying to let us know something earlier today, we didn't hear you, let us know again. We'll try and get that covered for you. If you have a question, comment, concern, always let us know, as long as it's good.
Only if it's good. If it's bad, that's on you.
Yeah, you're not going to like our response. You trust us. We're being nice here. Like, you don't want to see our response if you say something not nice.
It might be no response also. That's sometimes the best response is no response at all. Yeah, dude, I don't know how to find those comments. So that's too bad.
We're going to go to school, learn how to use a computer, and then we'll read the comments to you. We'll let
I
you
wish
know,
somebody would
we'll let
comment.
you know what you're saying.
Yeah, I wish somebody would comment right now. Oh, wait, hold on. We have some comments.
Oh, that remedy's sick?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Those are, so these are comments from previous, so I still don't know how to get to, but I know they were on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if oh, wait. Oh, look at that. Heck yeah. I just threw Riley's comment up there.
That remedy's sick.
You think so? All right.
It is. It is sick, Riley.
I
Glad
agree.
you like it.
Wow. Would you check that out, dude? How awesome.
We figured out how to use computers. I think that's a pretty big day in mountain bike shed history, able to use computers for a podcast.
Dude, I just don't understand why the comments disappear after it. This is probably so frustrating for somebody who actually knows how YouTube works. All right, I won't talk about it
So if you're one of those people who knows how YouTube works, slide into our DMs. Let us know.
Yeah.
We need some help.
Because I only saw those comments. We use StreamYard, so I only saw those comments in StreamYard as I just did to throw Riley's comment up there. I'll go ahead and drop that back off. But that was the only place I'd seen it, and it had the little YouTube emblem there. So I know that's how that worked, but whatever.
We got some viewers out there somewhere. That's good.
One of them's Riley, our good buddy Riley.
Mm-hmm.
Or Smiley is what I call him.
Yeah, y'all seen him on the stream before.
Yeah, Smiley. So yeah, and then so if you're going to race, it's in a city, so there's going to be hotels nearby. You can sort that out. Or you were telling me that quite often, I don't know if this is an unwritten rule that people follow or not, but many people, since most mountain bikers have some sort of camping setup to their vehicle, we kind of buy vehicles with that in mind. If I could sleep in my, like, if I want to, how far is it from St. Louis?
Rays is 8.5 hours away from St. Louis, 552 miles from Limay.
It's a decent trip.
Yeah,
so
definitely not something you want to go out there and back in a day. You definitely want to spend the night there.
Yep.
I went the route.
Do they have showers at Rays?
They do not.
They should.
That would be a lot better.
Do they have comment cards?
You can DM them on Instagram. They're usually pretty responsive.
Ugh, no, I'd rather leave a card anonymously.
Yeah, they're pretty nice guys.
Yeah, I'd rather leave a card
They've helped me out a couple times, some warranty stuff. Like I bought some parts from there over a year ago. Needed to warranty them. They're able to send me their receipt and get me on my way.
And they're like, we do have showers. We just don't allow people to use them, or that would really create issues.
Maybe that's what's in the VIP lounge.
Yeah.
They have a VIP lounge that are pretty cool.
Interesting.
Not even the pro riders. There are some riders there who I know are on the free ride tour, like kind of not the super big pro free ride tour, but one of the smaller free ride tours like Free Ride Fiesta and all that stuff. And they were not even allowed in the VIP room. So
not allowed, dude.
I don't know.
Not today. You're not VIP, they said. Yeah, and so basically what I'm saying is you can get a hotel if you're like that, or you could just sleep in your car when you get there.
There are a handful of campers in the parking lot.
Yeah.
You would definitely not look out of place if you showed up there.
So that's important information to know that they may not publish on their website.
Yeah, I'm sure they don't want people doing it, but
it happens.
Mountain bikers are going to be mountain bikers.
Heck yeah, dude. And you won't be alone.
Yep.
So that's the important thing. It'll be nice and safe because you'll have plenty of friends. So it's actually, you're doing a service for your fellow mountain biker by going and camping in their parking lot, really, because elsewise, if it was just like one dude that had to do it, then that would be dangerous for him. So there's strength in numbers.
Like a bunch of dirt bags together, that'd be a force to be reckoned with. Like a bunch of BMX, dirt jump, mountain bikers hanging out in a parking lot.
Yeah, a bunch of foggy dudes hanging out in a parking lot.
A bunch of guys tried to steal some bikes or something.
Sounds scary. A bunch of foggy dudes just hanging out, drinking crap beer, dude. Skinny jeans. Barefoot, dude. 50% of people are in flip-flops.
I would imagine it. I would imagine.
Hold on, let me put a ponytail in. I can't fight without a ponytail.
It is a pretty cool experience, though. It's, if you've ever been to Ramp Riders in downtown St. Louis, imagine that, except the whole facility that they have there. There's the smallest room at Ray's is at least twice the size of that, and they have at least a dozen rooms. So it's just massive. If you're used to Ramp Riders and you go to Ray's, it's gonna be a complete perception change. You're just gonna be like, whoa, this is what it could be. This is what all those indoor skate parks on the East Coast and in Europe could be. It's pretty cool to see. Pretty cool to see what can happen. Yeah, they have a bunch of big stuff there that I was pretty scared to hit. I wasn't even hitting some of the big stuff. It's stuff in profile world. You really have to know what you're doing to be able to hit that smoothly. And I knew I was not at that level. Didn't want to risk it, and worked out for the better. Didn't come home in a cast. So see what Google has to say.
Anything a YouTube video, of course.
Clickbait YouTube video. It's the best.
Oh, it can take up to 24 hours to appear on your YouTube live videos.
Okay. We got 24 hours.
So, yeah, I wish I would have read that before, because then maybe we would have just waited and done this video tomorrow. Because I would have liked to have gone back through those comments, because I'm not a rude person. So I would hate for somebody to take time to post a comment, positive or negative, and then not read that comment. And
we will read that. We will read and respond to your comment. Your comment is valid. Your opinion is valid. It's just going to take a while for us to.
Or we'll delete it. Would be the other alternative. If I don't like it or it's gibberish, then we'll delete it. Actually, we won't. We can't afford to do that. No matter what you say.
Any publicity.
We can't get picky about it. So okay, so it's not us, dude. I'm not a boomer.
Who knew?
It's just not ready yet. Just cooking. I don't know what YouTube's doing where it takes, I don't know, like if they have to, there's some sort of process that must occur.
Moderate it, make sure that they're not like asking you for nudes or something.
I thought this was 2021. I thought all this was going to be like lightning fast. Okay, cool. So Ray's is awesome. It's on every mountain biker's bucket list. For sure worth it. For sure just sleep in your car if you have to.
Ride, if you're familiar with that, you know, it's a pretty big deal if it's an epic ride. Pretty cool.
And you can ride Griffin's fairly close. Griffin Bike Park.
Griffin Bike Park is on the way. Griffin Bike Park is 2.5 hours from St. Louis.
Oh,
so it's a great. Yeah,
it's only 2.5 hours away.
Yeah, Terre Haute's only 2.5 hours.
Shut your mouth. Oh yeah, that's right. Well, I'm not gonna say why I know that.
But anyways, it's a really good stop on the way back. On the way out to Ray's, I actually stopped in Dayton and took a trip to museum, the National Air Force Museum. They have a bunch of really cool stuff there if you're into that kind of thing.
You drove on a runway.
I did. My car was on a runway. The parking lot was right next to some planes, so naturally had to take a photo shoot with my bikes and some planes. There's a A10 Warthog and a C-17 Galaxy. That was pretty crazy to see in person, just to see how giant that thing actually is. But yeah, I was on a runway at an Air Force base. That was pretty funny.
It would be funny if Alex was here. He'd be like, yeah, dude, I do that once a month, bro. All the time. What are you talking about? Yeah, who cares?
What are you talking about?
Who cares? Yeah, they're big. All right. Who cares? That's how Alex is. That's what he says. Just who cares? No big deal. He's cool under fire, that kid.
Yeah.
I don't think
he's a great guy to ride with. Yeah, he's, you know, that whenever you ride with him, you know, he's never gonna take things too far. He's always gonna stay in control. He's always gonna be there for you when you wreck yourself. He's just gonna be chilling there. Like, what do you do that for?
Dude, I just want to say I'm pretty proud of us. I
Mhm.
think we're being true professionals here.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe audio isn't perfect because we've lost the lavalier.
Yeah, one of our guests this morning accidentally may have walked out with one of our mics.
Dude, I don't think
Still
so. I
investigating.
think, to be honest, the one that we have is probably the one he gave me.
Mhm.
My mic's probably on me.
So someone somewhere has a mic. Got to find out where it is, who has it, but it's somewhere.
For sure. So, why did I just start to? Oh, how proud I am of us,
Mhm.
because we are doing a great job, I think.
Mhm.
Tonight, we've managed to basically not have any audio issues except for one, which, maybe that's our fault. Maybe it's not. Who knows? Who cares? And then we've great video.
Mhm.
Screens look great. We've got a nice GeForce video card
Mhm.
on our laptop now to make sure our streams aren't choppy.
Mhm.
We've got some nice mics that are half working. And then we stayed on topic tonight. I said it,
Somehow.
I put in there we were going to talk about the Remy. We talked about the Remy. We nailed that, dude, for 25 minutes. We barely got off topic. A little bit here and there, but it's a little bit of flavor you got to deal with if you want us to give a review on a bike, which is incredibly boring if we don't. And then what did we say we were going to do next? Oh, I said we were going to talk about your trip.
Mhm.
So we did that.
Mhm.
Talked about Rays. Got some really cool information about Rays. That sounds so fun, dude.
So
Or you
fun.
made me want to go get in my car and do it right now. I hope somebody at some point is listening to this podcast on their way to Rays, just getting all hyped up. Like, oh, I'm about to go there.
It's so sweet. It's the moment you walk in the door, they make their whole shtick is that it's a home away from home, because they know that most people that come there are not from Cleveland, that you've traveled a long ways, maybe by yourself,
Do they have food
and you
there?
just want to be able to be comfortable with food.
Yeah.
They do not have food, but they did have a food truck outside for most of the day.
Yeah.
But the cool thing, my favorite part about the lounge at Ray's was that they had couches set up next to fireplaces. So when you're taking a break from riding, take your gear off, sit on a couch next to a fireplace, relax, drink some Gatorade, do whatever you do, and you just really feel like you're at home there. It's a really cool, cool vibe, super cool experience. Cannot recommend it enough.
Yeah, don't take your bike because it's probably far from wherever you're coming from. I doubt many people are from Ohio. So don't take your bike, just rent a stash or
$18 a day. I mean, it would be well worth it to pay $18 a day to not have to go through your bike, clean everything, re-grease everything. Because after all those miles on my bike rack, my bikes were covered in salt, and that's just terrible for the finish, terrible for everything on the bike. Yeah. So I had to make sure to clean that off immediately.
Yeah. So we did that. We've discussed that, got people all hyped up, and we'll have the cool Tangent Universe thing where someone's driving there as we're talking about it. So that's going to be super fun.
I was driving on the way back.
Somebody might be sitting in the lounge with headphones in, listening to the podcast. You talking about them sitting in the lounge next to the fireplace. His name's probably Cam. No, his name's Steve. And he's sitting right there. He's like, are these guys, how do they know I'm sitting right next to this fireplace in the lounge at Ray's right now?
Because that's what you do.
Yeah. But Steve, I hope Steve's having a good time. I hope he's getting rowdy and enjoys the rest of his day there. And I hope Steve has had a great time riding at Ray's.
There's a lot of fun. You can ride in the ceiling.
Oh, and there's Mike over there on the other side of the Ray's lounge, sitting just across from Steve there. Yep. Now Mike's like, oh, they're talking about me. I'm here at Ray's in the lounge.
So if you're at Ray's, we're talking about you right now. So better listen up.
Yeah. You looking good out there. I saw them throwing some stees. Both Steve and Mike were throwing stees out there, dude. All right. So the last thing we need to talk about is I just wanted to kind of, which we waited till the end of the stream to do, maybe not the best time, but maybe just a slight recap. We had our first guest in studio. We kind of touched on that earlier. It was Wheels Up Enduro, which is Cody, who's been longtime coach and I guess founder, maybe with Jeff Powell at the same time, or maybe Jeff joined on early. I don't know if they started together. I'm not sure. how that worked out. But I know both of them have been doing it for forever.
Yeah,
They're awesome.
I'm sure if you're from the St. Louis area, you're probably familiar with the Wheels Up clinics, the guys with the big old airbags. They go out to the pump track, out to different bike shops, different places in the area, and they hold jump clinics and jump sessions with their airbags. Super cool environment, and they're just taking it to the next level.
Yeah.
Trying to have a youth development team.
Yep. So they're going to do that. Why? Because a bunch of kids started racing NICA and they wanted to ride more rowdy trails and they wanted to do some of the enduro races and downhill races and stuff like that.
And quite frankly, the NICA coaches, most of them, that's not their strong suit. And that's
well, they're not allowed to.
Yeah.
I mean, that's simple. The facts. They cannot. They wouldn't be allowed to be coaches. Part of like their oath is to not teach that type of riding.
Really?
Yeah, they're there to teach more cross country riding and racing.
That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, if your ideally your wheels would not leave the ground in a NICA race, so they're coaching toward that, which has got its place. But the deal is, if we want to get dudes stoked about it first, let's get them stoked on the fun stuff, and then the competition and the kind of what you get out of that type of racing, I think becomes even more important. But I think we have to hook those kids first. And if we want to get, if you ride mountain bikes and you're in high school or junior high, you're probably maybe a couple of your buddies ride with you now. If you're out this way, more of your buddies ride. But if you're anywhere other than like Eureka or in like a mountain bike town, then you're not going to know anybody who rides. It's going to be really hard to talk your buddies to go join a Nike team with you and race cross country. If you're going to hook somebody new, you need to show them you hitting a big booter and kicking your bike sideways, and your buddies are going to be like, "What, dude? You do that?" I'm in, dude. Like, how do I do this? So
riding with buddies that are faster than you is kind of a cheat code.
Yeah, you got to ride with people that are better than you and worse than you. It's also important.
Yeah, when you start riding with people that are a little outside your skill level and you know that they're outside of your skill level,
you got to know it.
You observe them, you follow them, you do what they're doing, you see some things that they're doing that you're not doing that you maybe should be doing. It's just the best way to improve. I mean,
just know they're outside of your skill level. Just because they can do it does not mean you can do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like like going through a jump line for the first time, it's so much more confidence inspiring to follow someone through the jump line. Just so that you get that gauge of speed, you get that confidence. But if you know that they're doing stuff that you should not be doing, you have to know not to do that. Just because you're following your buddy, just because he's your buddy and you know him, doesn't mean that you can do that. You have to know your limits, but still be able to go out there and have fun.
Yeah,
I think that's something.
Yeah, and I think that's where the Wheels Up Enduro team will be helpful. I think, that's something that STL mountain bike camps used to really kind of help out with, or even like when Guided Path was still around here in St. Louis, we had coaches that would teach maybe that more elevated level of riding, the jumps and the drops and the downhill stuff. We have had kind of a vacuum as of the last, year and a half since Shepherd opened up. And I need to talk with Mike and find out. I don't know what they've got going on. I'm sure they're still running the summer camp and stuff like that. I'm not sure how that coincided with Shepherd, but anyhow, and maybe Michael will be up in St. Louis, come talk to us one day. But anyhow, with Wheels Up Enduro, the teams, they're going to have a bunch of different teams. They've got like 4 coaches set up now, which is awesome. All really great coaches, really great people who are going to set a good example for our kids. They're all really good riders. They can teach you the fundamentals to make sure, like, if you're a younger dude listening right now, like, and you jump and whatever else, the reason why you want to join that team is so that they teach you the fundamentals, and that's going to keep you from getting hurt, down the road, and allow you to send bigger stops. So it's going to allow you to progress in a safe way, and making sure, like, yeah, could I go off a 6-foot drop and on a 160 mil travel bike and land it and kind of get away with it? Yeah. But maybe having a little bit better technique would set me up. So that way, if 10 years from now, if you're a 15-year-old dude, you go with your buddies, or, if you're friends with Mustache and he's like, let's go to Whistler, and you go out there, you had the fundamentals when you were 13 to 16 to jump and to do drops. So that way, when you go out there, you're open to hit the big stuff you know, and you don't have, whereas if you didn't do that, yeah, you could hit like the blues and the greens and stuff, but there's no chance of you hitting anything crazy. So
there's a big difference between being a fast rider because you're not afraid to send it and being a fast rider because you know how to send it. There's a big difference between the two, especially in younger riders, and kind of narrowing that gap, knowing how to do something and being able to do it consistently every time rather than we'll see if I make it. It's just super, super important to just, it's, if you want to make this your hobby that's sustainable, you have to not be getting hurt all the time. It's just,
avoid those mistakes. Do you remember in the downhill World Cup, I don't even know now with COVID, it screwed all my years up. It probably would have been, it was 2019.
Okay.
So the last like full regular season. And I believe it was Aaron Gwynn. I can't remember where they were, but there was a jump and he just scrubbed it. Like completely laid his bike down sideways and just scrubbed the jump all the way through, and landed was so freaking fast through that, whereas everybody else was kind of getting real lofty and whatnot.
He knew how to get that suspension, how to get that to decompress sideways.
Such insane technique. And then turned the bike back around and landed straight. Just, it was so crazy. It was so fast because it was just, and I'm sure everybody knows what I'm talking about. As soon as I bring that up, I'm sure everybody's got the picture in their mind of him doing that. So just really cool. And that's from technique. I mean, those guys they have coaches and they work with people who also watch their technique. So when you watch these Red Bull Rampage guys, obviously they're spending a lot of time just out there riding their bike, but they're also working with coaches and people are watching them. They're studying their film, you know, and that's an important thing too. You know, if you're out there with your buddies, you know, yeah, it's cool to get videos so you can put a little edit together and then throw it on your Instagram, but it's also important that you're watching yourself jump and you can kind of start identifying some of those mistakes.
It's always good to know what you're doing wrong. From watching videos of me jumping, I've been able to learn a lot of things that I'm doing incorrectly and start working on them to get my form a little more proper, just a little safer. Like, sure, I was clearing the jumps before, but I wasn't being as safe with my body positioning as I could have been. My weight was a little too far forward over the handlebars instead of getting it farther back over that rear wheel and sucking the bike up. There's a little bit of difference there. You're still clearing the jump, but it's just those finer technique skills that unless you're going out and riding with a coach or unless you're going out and riding with people better than you, you're really not going to know you're doing anything wrong unless you
and paying attention to you. And here's the deal. I don't care if you're a teenager, if you're under the age of 18 and you're riding a mountain bike, there's very few exceptions to the rule, but anybody you're riding with, they're not going to be paying enough attention to you to be able to really help you out or tell you when you're doing something wrong. So
and most people my age are the same way.
Yeah.
23.
Right. Yeah. But you could end up going on a ride with like Coach Cuddy or somebody like that.
Yeah,
so, you know, there are plenty of those guys around, but when you're at that age, nobody's paying that much attention to you. They're more focused on what they're doing. So even if they do, or even if they are really great riders at 13 and have super sound technique, they're probably more focused on their ride than yours. So they're not going to be able to assist all that much.
It's going to be like, oh, you want to hit that jump, go fast, pull up hard on the bars.
Sure. Yeah.
Like something simple like that.
But get some training, whether it's, you know, so the Wheels Up Enduro team, we basically found out that they're going to kind of ride once a week. You'll be with your own skill level, not really based on age, more skills, anywhere from 5th grade to a senior in high school. And then they'll support 3 different races around the MES. It looks like possibly some sort of Shepherd Mountain race, if you were to ask me. I have no idea. I have nothing to do with anything. I just comment whatever I feel like. And of course, nobody said anything to me about that. So it could be somewhere else. Maybe they're working on something in Springfield or Kansas City, or I don't know. Who knows what they got going on. But it all sounds really cool. So I just urge younger riders, you know, especially if you're riding a really rowdy bike, just whether you think you need it or not, go sign up for a class, go take a class. You might meet somebody cool your age that you'll want to ride with. So that would be pretty dope because you shouldn't be out riding your bike alone. And if your parent, I mean, you probably grew up riding with your parent if you ride a mountain bike, or maybe your parent doesn't ride, but I'm sure you're sick of riding with your parents, no matter how much you love them.
Mhm.
It would be much cooler to go with a couple of your buddies. So
Here's
go
another,
to a class, meet some people who ride bikes.
here's another thing. The best riders, the best bike riders, they know that they still have stuff to learn. If you think that as a Midwest rider, you know everything about biking and there's nothing more you can learn, you're dead wrong.
Yeah. Do you think anybody in the Midwest thinks that? You probably met a few guys who think they know.
A couple people you think that
I don't-
they're like, oh, no, everyone can get some use from some coaching. Even the fastest pros get coaching. If that doesn't tell you everything about it, I don't know what does.
Yeah, and I mean, I own a bike shop, so obviously I know about bicycles. I'm level one mountain bike coach, level one.
Level one. Yes.
Level one.
You're still a mountain bike coach. That's still a
I
pretty
am
nice
a mountain bike coach,
and
so
that certification is still valid.
it is, yeah. So even at that, like I've gone to, I did guided pass level one courses and taken those, and I still learn something. And every rider, no matter how long you've been riding, if you're an adult or if you're a kid, you can still learn something. You're going to learn something from the other riders, and it's the experience. You're getting out there with other people. Again, you might meet somebody super cool that you want to ride with, or if nothing else, you're gonna pick up one term that like you start thinking about when you're riding, or you're gonna learn one little technique that you're gonna use 100 times on every ride from that point forward, and you're gonna be able to ride your bike longer and enjoy it more. So take a class. I know a lot of people get nervous about doing things like that. They're kind of embarrassed. Maybe they don't think they got the right bike.
There for the same reason. They're there to improve their skills on the mountain bike, to be safer, to have more fun out there. You're all there for the same thing. I mean,
try to make sure your bike's in good repair. So maybe, before you go to one of those classes, bring it by a bike shop real quick. We can kind of talk about it, ask somebody at the bike shop. I know not everybody is always as friendly as we are here. So, if your local bike shop isn't real friendly, I don't know, maybe they shouldn't be your local bike shop, but chances are they love bikes. I shouldn't say that. Nobody is going to be, if you go to them and ask them, like, what do you think about taking a bike class? They're going to talk to you about it and kind of give you some expectations, and they're going to look. And if you're like, hey, here's my raggedy old bike or whatever, I'm going to do a class. What should I do to make my life easier? And maybe they'll say, okay, well, we need to get you a shorter stem, or we need to put flat pedals on, or we need to cut your seat post down, or we need to put a quick release. So they can give you some things to make you a little bit more comfortable if you are nervous like that. I know I always worry about things like that, so I assume other people do as well. But it's really cool. And then everybody who's there, whether they're somebody who's been riding and winning mountain bike races for 10 years, or whether they're bike shop owners, or whether they're a brand new rider, or somebody who's been riding a bike for 5 years, they're all going to be as nice. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. Everybody's going to support you and encourage you and cheer for you. And if something happens to your bike, they're going to swap you. Like, they're going to swap their bike with your, you know what I mean? Like, people are going to make sure you have a good time. So just go and don't worry.
Speaking about that brings up a pretty good point. Get a little off topic, but when I was a kid in kindergarten, I was racing BMX out at St. Peter's. I took a class on BMX racing with a pro. He came by, took like a 2 or 3 day clinic on it. And during one of those days, he actually snapped his bike frame in half. He was super upset about it. He was crying his eyes out. And the pro rider, a pretty big name pro rider, just was like, hey, I got you. Went out, got his park bike from his car, gave the kid his BMX bike, said, hey, ride it for the rest of the camp. It's just super, super cool stuff like that. Like, that was a $1,300 bike at least for a BMX bike, for a full custom pro level BMX bike. And he was just like, hey, I'll let this random kid ride it just because he needs a bike.
Yeah, I wouldn't even.
That's the type of environment that it is.
Yeah, I wouldn't even think twice if I was at a skills camp or something, that half the time I'd be off my bike because I was swapping my bike back and forth with somebody else so they could experience everything as well on something that's going to be a little bit more easier or capable for them, But yeah, cool, man.
We are a super nice environment.
Yeah, we're just over an hour and 3 minutes. So Remedy is awesome. Raise is awesome. Enduro racing is awesome. Being a kid's awesome, but
not being a cross country rider is pretty awesome.
Yep. Learning from other people is awesome. Our live stream's awesome. So if you're still listening, you probably already have subscribed, turned on notifications, and tuned in. So, like it, find us on Spotify, iTunes, and then somebody told me there's a thing called Google Podcast.
Okay.
So I'm gonna look that up.
Google Podcast. Catch us on there next.
Hell yeah.
Spotify, Apple, Google. The next one.